looking at them, like Virginia, Schooner. Some of these boats are so huge, and it's great to see that you've even got just normal boaters out there kind of coasting alongside with them. We are expecting over 500 vessels, Tom, taking up this Elizabeth River waterway. I spoke with the Coast Guard earlier, and they mentioned that they were closing off the waterway later on today for some search and rescue demos for the drone show that's later on today. We've got those details on WAVY.com. But again, close to 500 boats in the water right now for the Parade of Sails. The Coast Guard's out here. We've even got a destroyer out here. USS Gettysburg is tailing up the entire parade. So they're at the very end. You can see them there. Just a beautiful sight. For 47 years this has been going on, and it's something the community really looks forward to, and certainly a lot of boaters as well, a lot of mariners. So if you're coming out today, make sure to bring some sunscreen. It looks like it's getting a bit sunny out there. But for now, we're going to go ahead and enjoy the view from up here. You can go ahead and check in on WAVY.com. We are streaming live there. We are streaming live on Facebook. You can catch the parade from above, and you don't have to miss a beat. For now, that's the latest here in Chopper 10 with pilot Scott Evett, Madison Pierman. Tom, back to you.
Hi, welcome to the WAVY Digital Desk. I'm here with Brett Hall, and we're going to be talking about all things Parade of Sails. Brett, thanks for coming in today.
I'm excited. This is fun.
As you can see,
not as fun as Maddie's having, but
yeah, I know, right? We're not up in the chopper, but we are reaping some of the benefits by seeing
Absolutely.
What is happening in the water below. You can see the boats have already started to make their way through toward waterside. Brett, I mean, you've been out to Harborfest before.
Yeah, no, it's actually one of my favorite events to do each year. This year, I'm doing it from this vantage point, which is a little different because it's different seeing it from the sides of the banks of the Elizabeth River than to see it from Chopper 10 while it's happening. It's always also so cool to see all the other boats that just join in. You really don't need to register. You can just join in the fun and sail along as long as you're doing it safely, of course. But I love seeing the tall ships. It seems like our photographer right now going in on what should be, is that okay, I got to get my cheat sheet up here.
I know,
Sarah
right?
Goode. This is going to be a very fluid and fun.
Yes, I believe this is the Gazella.
Yes, Philadelphia,
Yes.
Pennsylvania.
I will put up some information on the board here, but I think, just to start, this has been involved since the inception at Harborfest, is what their maritime expert Hank Mosley told me. So this has been there.
The Gazella?
Yeah.
Oh, really? I don't even remember seeing it last year.
I don't know if it's been every year, but it has been.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
It has been involved throughout the years. But I mean, Philadelphia, I know we're going to have Pride of Baltimore on there, so I know you're ready for that one. But
now we got the USS Gettysburg, which is a DGG. I can talk some about that.
Yeah, please.
Now that I know, I could have never told you this a year ago before I started the WAVY's Navy Ship Salute. We had ours this morning. But the Gettysburg, it was underway because we tried to do that. I was like, wow, how cool would it be if we did the Gettysburg on the day of WAVY's Navy Ship Salute? But they are coming back from an underway. It is one of the many destroyers that is based at Naval Station Norfolk. And when it passes by waterside, I'm sure the men and women, at least they usually step out onto the deck and to near the bow and wave to everybody. One thing real quick, if it's your first time, if you're just tuning in, Harborfest, all the ships are ready for display except the Navy vessel. For regular Harborfest, the Navy vessel is not going to be mooring up on the banks of the Elizabeth River, but it is certainly cool to see during the Parade of Sail, and so apropos because, world's largest Navy base. How can you have Harborfest without something from the U.S. Navy?
So. Right. And we're going to see.
There's the facts.
Yeah, we're going to pull the facts up throughout. Some of the boats we're going to jump around from the chopper up above, so we'll try to, stick along with you all. I mean, you can see, so there are some featured boats that you can find on the Harborfest website. There's also private boats, as Brett mentioned, that are also out on the water, and you can see some of them right now.
I see. They got some sails up right there. There's few sailboats. The wind's coming out of the northwest. It's a very light breeze today, so a lot of them are probably using their motors to go along today. Right now, we are zooming in on the Spirit of Mount Vernon, which, if anybody remembers last year's Harborfest Parade of Sail, was 3 or 4 days after the Spirit of Norfolk suffered its fire. There was a lot of, I was down there last year, Sarah, when they brought the vessel to the left on your screen, which is also part of Spirit's cruises down there. I forget the name of that one off the top of my head, if you have that. But when that passed by, they also honored the Victory Rover, which executed the rescue of all those children on the Spirit of Norfolk. Everyone was cheering. The whole parade of sail last year was done in honor of the Spirit of Norfolk and its crew for handling that situation. But this year, the Spirit of Mount Vernon, the replacement boat, is in there.
Yes.
Oh, I love this shot.
Yeah, just check it out. I mean, you can also see what good timing that a cruise ship was also in the water at the same time, so you can see all the boats going by. It also is
I don't know if that happened before. I'm not sure if that's happened before.
I mean, it also just shows you the size. So if you just need some reference, you can see what's happening. Taking us down toward the end there, you can see, they're sort of lining the parade of sails from the top. I mean, I guess just anyone tuning in, just to start, if you are not familiar with Harborfest, it's a free festival, maritime festival that's run by Festivents. And according to Festivents, it's America's largest, longest running free maritime festival. And I think that's one of the unique features, that it is free. Anyone can go out. You can go visit these boats. So remember that you can go visit these boats after the parade of sail, meet the crews, learn more about the individual vessels. And just hear more about what you're seeing today.
Now I think we can get up that one. I love this one. Docks right by our tent each year, and I always don't want to make sure I mess it up, but it's the Kalmar Nickel out of Wilmington, Delaware. It's got a great sky blue paint scheme. And I think a lot of kids look at it as the pirate boat because it has the rigging, makes it look kind of like what you would see in Treasure Island.
Yeah, I was going to say Pirates of the Caribbean or something.
Yeah.
I'm going to leave these dimensions up on the screen just for a minute so that you guys can see them. I mean, just a fun fact I wrote down, about the Kalmar Nickel. So this is it was brought to settlers who founded the colony of New Sweden in 1638. But it's from Delaware, and right now it's dedicated to preserving and progressing Delaware's maritime history. So that is a big feature, I guess, of the whole festival is Norfolk's maritime history. And you've covered
so
a
much
lot
of
of that.
I wouldn't say I've covered a lot of it, but I always enjoy learning more about it. It's just incredible of just the history of Gosport, which is really the original name for the shipyard in this area where we are,
right?
At WAVY. So I'm a history buff, so yes, I love the maritime history. I love this event, and also being from Baltimore. It's always interesting to see again how many people just join in. The dramatic sight of the ships coming in. I was actually just talking to the person who's been teaching me how to sail, because in the last year I've gotten into sailing, as you know by following my Instagram, but which I've loved. He said likely not too many boats sailing out there today. Winds are around 6 miles per hour, around 5 knots, so it's hard. But look at the crowd; they don't care. Wow. What a great shot from Chopper 10. I would say that is certainly more packed than it was last year.
How early do you think these guests got out there? I mean, some of them have premier spots right there on the ledge.
All day, all morning. I'm sure Raven Payne, who was out there this morning, I'm sure she saw all of them.
So we're going to, go through, just some more information about the boats and then just some other information. And you can see our chopper there. I can pull up the tower cam, 10 feet as well. Let's just see what it looks like. So it's a little darker from this angle, but you can see the boats. If you see right under the cruise ship, they're sort of going by the harbor there.
The Renaissance and the Harbor Towers are very much in the way. That's why we love Chopper 10.
Yes, but just another shot of what you can see from the downtown Norfolk skyline there. I mean, obviously we're so thrilled, and it's such a great thing that some of those wildfire smokes have dissipated, throughout the last few days.
In our region,
yes, because that would have been a very different festival and situation today. Exactly.
Looks like we are getting out of a Coast Guard cutter. I'm not sure what vessel this is. Obviously, it's one of their smaller vessels.
I believe this is the USAC, the Ewell. So Army Corps of Engineers.
No, that's
Coast, is that coming on?
That's Coast Guard right there. Do they have one listed?
This one actually might have just joined in on the fun today. It's not on the featured list. I'm sure one of the things that the maritime expert said.
The number is
87339.
Do you want me to look that up?
Yeah, look it up.
Okay, I will.
But the maritime expert, Hank Mosley, he said that if you have questions and you're on site, you want to hear more about boats, go up to the Festivents guides and people that are there. Go up to, if you see Hank Mosley around, he has worked on tall ships for about 30 years. So he is a real expert if you need information. And I think Brett has information on our Coast Guard boat.
It is a Marine Protector class United States Coast Guard boat. 87 foot long. Didn't even realize that. But I love this shot right here. The tugboat, the fireboat turning around.
Wow, look at that.
So this is the part where if you're down there, they start announcing the boat. There's a speaker system. In each one, people will cheer. They kind of make a circle. They go down past waterside, circle around, and then usually go to their different spots of where they will be moored for the remainder of the weekend.
Oh, that's so exciting. And I think, don't miss it at the end. I think the big thing that people look forward to as well is that gunpowder. That happens. You haven't heard about this?
No, what are we talking about?
Oh, well, this might be a sneak peek, but one of the things that Festivent shared is that sometimes there is like a gunpowder release on some of the boats as they go by.
Yes. No, that does gunpowder. You mean the cannons?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
I was gunpowder. Okay, I got you where you are now. I got you.
From tall ships. So you imagine you're back in the day.
I'm always asking. We need to get Carol to see if she can get a cannon. I'd love to do that.
We can do a confetti cannon, maybe. I think that would be allowed.
No, those are banned. Those are banned. I'll tell you offline about that one.
But you can see the boats coming in, and I think, the really exciting part here is, just to celebrate, and what a beautiful day. It's a Friday on the water, and there's so many other events taking place on water and land throughout the festival. There's going to be, food, drinks. I heard there was a silent disco this year. So, there's so many different things that you can get involved in if you're not able to be there right now.
Look at all the different vessels. We got a few sailing vessels, likely not under sail themselves, likely using their motor today out there. Just not a lot of wind, but still just a really cool sight to see. Especially, I just was texting my friend that if there's wind, I want to go. Because I want to try it myself. I know, you want to get up on
the sails. Well,
I love it.
The one thing, you can see some of the sails are up here, but there's also motors on these boats, obviously, that have been, refurbished. So the motors are, probably taking them through today, I would say.
I would assume so. Also, the parade of sail, you want to keep pace. You don't want to fall behind, because if you lose the direction of the wind, or if you're going too fast and start heeling, then you could really throw up the whole parade. And when you're watching a parade on land, nobody likes the gaps.
Mm-hmm. The Coast Guard's watching us right now, the U.S. Coast Guard base, Elizabeth City, North Carolina, and they said that's the Pompano.
Pompano?
Yes.
Pompiano, maybe?
They said Pompano.
Oh, Pompano.
Yes.
Well, thank you so much for watching.
Yeah, thank you for joining us. And I think, keep the comments going if you all are interested in a certain ship. If you want to know more information, we can get that to you. And also just tell us if you're down there. If you're down there, and you can just live Facebook with us and see some of the things that are happening. Tell us what you're experiencing on the ground. Right now we have
Gettysburg USS Gettysburg being escorted by several of the tugs out there, and then we have I forgot to look up the name of the Spirit's other boat there. The
one thing I did want to mention too is Brett mentioned the pace that needs to going. There's also a limit, right? So they don't want people racing through to finish the parade. I think this gives ample time for everyone to see what the ships are, to see what it looks like. But they're not trying to have any competitions in the parade. Everyone's going to take their turn and get a full display going on.
Now that looks like, I'm trying to see, that might be, is this the Spirit of Baltimore? That might be the original model of the flag that flew over Fort McHenry in 1814 when the British came up the Chesapeake. They burned Washington, made their way up there. Star Spangled Banner written off that flag, I believe. Yes, that is it. 13 stars, 13 stripes for the 13 original colonies.
And do you want to talk about what this boat means to you?
The Pride of Baltimore? Believe it or not, I've never sailed on the Pride of Baltimore. Pride of Baltimore 2, I should say. The original Pride of Baltimore, which was a replica of a Baltimore sailing schooner, was lost at sea in the 80s. They built the Pride of Baltimore 2, I believe, in the 90s. Is that right? Am I right?
I would take it, but I love it.
You don't have the date on there? Okay.
I do know that it was a reproduction.
Yes,
so,
it is reproduction.
Yes.
But yeah, just in case you haven't
And I'm going to
Picked it up. I'm from the Maryland area.
Yes, and I'm going to leave the dimensions up on the screen for that. One of the big things that I think I was curious about that makes, ships more powerful or not, and Hank Mosley said, a vessel's length at the water line is really important for the boats. And I am not a mariner myself, but I do think it's interesting to see, how these tall ships differ, what the colors are, what the sails are, what they were used for, is one of the things that is really interesting for each vessel out there. You're also going to see, you can see the edge of Chopper 10 there.
Yeah. And what's really interesting, I'll be real nerdy, if we have to land on water, that puffy part, that is inflatable. So we can actually land on the water, not like a seaplane. It's an emergency use only. But since we saw that, I thought I'd shout it out.
Helicopter knowledge is important. And you're seeing some behind the scenes, information and things here. So you can see some other boats here. There's a quick boat. You see that speedboat sort of, I think trying to hurry and get in the parade coming from the right of our screen. This will go about till 1, and we're going to see Madison Pyramid again, towards about 12:30, during the midday show. So she's up there, she's taking it all in, and you're going to hear more from her tonight as well about, being in Chopper 10 during the Harborfest Parade of Sail. As we move along here, I think, one of the big things is it's been a little cooler here, honestly, in this area. And now it's a beautiful day outside. I can feel summer starting to happen. Okay, here we're going into another boat.
That, I think, is the same one that we profiled first.
Yes.
Starts with a G. Help me out.
I'm helping you out, the Gazella.
Thank you.
I'm helping you out. I think the cool thing, too, for people that might not know is that you can actually ride on these ships. Some of them do offer, daily sales, but also during the actual, parade of sails, people are riding on these ships.
Yeah, there's some other, I know last year we had some of our TV crews on the ships. I'm not sure if we do this year, but now, just to clarify, I don't believe any of them are sailing during the festival, right? Harborfest? They're all moored during that time?
They're all moored.
Except the tall ships, that is. Spirit of Norfolk's going out, Victory Rover, and I believe American Rover.
Yeah.
You can still, that is the tall ship that is always based in Norfolk, owned by, oh gosh.
You can find specific information about the daily sales and everything on WAVY.com and also at Harborfest. They,
Brooke, that's his name.
they have different tall ships do offer. They're not just volunteer based. So there's actually some ships that you can throughout the year, or throughout the sailing season, I should say. I don't know if anyone's sailing in the winter, can actually go and do daily cruises on it.
I've sailed.
You're sailing in the winter.
Yeah. Right now, you are looking at the area. If you notice, there's fishing slips, Portsmouth there down at the lower part of the screen. The boats are now kind of doing their circle. They're turning around. The tall ships will likely go to their spots where they're going to be berthed for the weekend. Other recreational boats likely just going to peel off. Right there's that's the American Rover that is going to be sailing during Harborfest. You can find their information, of course, through a link on our website if you would like to sail on the American Rover.
And look how beautiful that boat is. I mean, such a different piece out in the water right now with the green and the red. And we'll get back to it.
Oh, there it is.
You can see it now coming on the other side of the building. But, see the people on there. I mean, what a view they're having, what a time they're having out there. It looks packed. They definitely got a good amount of people on there. They're all towards, the front. I mean, do you want to tell us a little bit about...
I've actually never been on the American Rover myself.
I was going to say
you can tell right there that they're motoring along today, but their sails are beautiful. I heard when it is under sail, it is a very cool experience. I know they do different trips and everything on there. I know earlier, while we're talking about the American River, if they go back to the Spirit of Mount Vernon, you and I had the chance to go check that out a little bit ago. What a beautiful vessel that is.
Right when it opened up, I mean, it was also, what a beautiful night in the spring to have. It was perfect. There are some photos, I think, up on WAVY and up on probably our Instagrams, but it was such a beautiful night. It's such a cool ship, and it was really exciting to be a part of it after, honestly, there was like so much tragedy and destruction, the year before.
Yeah, it was, a lot of people have a connection to the Spirit, and its Spirit cruises really have its impetus here in Norfolk. Now it's worldwide. So, but another view right now from Chopper 10 as they're going over I think that's BAE Shipyard to the right, of course, Waterside, Town Point Park to the right, Half Moon Cruise Terminal. You can see the Carnival, I think that's the Carnival Magic right there.
I was zooming in on Waterside right there.
Yeah.
The
WAVY TV, by the way, we are out there all weekend. Tom Shad is broadcasting live.
Andy's going to be there.
Andy Fox is down there, as he is every year, doing the Parade of Sail. I know Isha Tolliver is going to be down there today. Chris Horn is going to be down there after he anchors our new newscast today. Then several other people throughout the weekend. I don't even know the whole list. I think it's up on wavy.com, though. We have a full guide.
It's up on WAVY. There's also Harborfest guides. I think, parking and closures, it's never fun, but it's something to know ahead of time before you go in. But we have Jeff Edmondson and Lauren Moss out there on Saturday, and then it's Tom Shad and Madison Pierman on Sunday. So you can see the full team, and there's going to be, other people out there. Get your autograph signed.
And I know great music. Parma Lee, if you're into country music, they always seem to get good bands for Harborfest. Tonight, the drone show.
Yes.
Let me tell you what, I had never seen it. It's the only drone show I've really ever seen. They did the little one at Something in the Water.
So I got a little one at Something in the Water.
Yeah, we got the little one at Something in the Water, that's right. And you were there, I saw it on the stream.
Yeah.
But I was at last year's Harborfest drone show, and it blew my mind. Took my breath away. It almost made me not want to see fireworks again.
Absolutely. No,
that may be unpopular opinion.
I still like fireworks. Honestly, drones are, I don't know what we could talk about what's better afterwards, but the drone show is pretty spectacular, and just like the technology that goes behind it, the amount of work to actually program, I imagine the display is pretty amazing.
What time does that start tonight?
So tonight you can go see the drone show at 9:30 p.m. 9:30 p.m. So, and it'll be over the Elizabeth River. So, right where people are lined up today for the Parade of Sail, you can find your spot on that strip to see the drone show.
Yeah. So there we go. And we have another tall ship. I can't tell if that's the Virginia schooner or if that's the Pride of, I think it's the Virginia schooner right there. That's usually docked over at Nauticus, I believe.
Right.
And then we have the Coast Guard cutter the Coast Guard boat that we, Paraleo, right? Was that what they told us?
They said Pompano.
Pompano.
It might be Pampano. I might be saying it wrong.
If you're still watching, if you want to phonetically spell it for us,
yes.
that's great.
The other thing I really wanted to highlight is that in this parade there are military vessels, there are tall ships, and there's private boats. The goal was to really highlight, what is actually in the harbor there. And then to have the cruise ship there too, you're seeing the full display of vessels that are actually, always, moving in and out of our harbor.
Yeah, besides, it's always actually fun when we're at WAVY Street in Portsmouth, and we step out sometimes, and you'll just see moving on the horizon this huge, either oil tanker, not so much a cargo ship because the port's not all the way down here, but it's always like, wow.
Yeah.
It's
incredible.
The perspective we have is pretty cool. Of course, right there is the former Portsmouth Marine Terminal, now being modified to be a new hub for where they're going to be manufacturing Orsted for the offshore wind farm, Dominion's offshore wind farm off the coast of Virginia Beach.
Right.
But spinning around here, you can see the underlings of Chopper 10 right there. You can see our inflatable water toys. No, I'm just kidding. They're not toys. They're
moving back to
floaties.
And there are other cams that we see. I think Cam 10 is one of the ones that we showed you earlier that has an angle of the parade. But then Cam 11, I think, also is going to have one. So they might pull it up on actual WAVY TV 10.
Camera 11?
Yes.
I didn't even know we had a camera 11. Things I didn't know.
But you can just see here, here's another angle.
Swimmer's Point there, I believe, from the Naval Hospital. But it looks like some of the boats are starting to head into the port. I think that's the Nickel going into the berth right there. You can see off to the bottom right of your screen.
And then,
what are is there any vessels we didn't get to highlight yet? I want to make sure I hit them all.
We haven't seen all of them go by yet. I think the other one to say, there's, NOAA has a boat out there today. That's from Solomons, Maryland.
Oh.
This one, and people, please look up the ships and give them their full attention, but it's called the Bay Hydro. So that is one that's out there. You can see the stage right there, from that angle. What a great angle of seeing.
I think we just missed it, but the Godspeed was out there. That is one of the vessels from Jamestown.
Yes.
Which I've heard that is really cool. I've never, I got to go on one of them, but I think they're another one that actually goes out and sails.
We can, I'm sure they do. And I think the other interesting fact about them is that it is a volunteer based, I think really to get the history knowledge out and to actually show people why, keeping this history is so important.
Look right there's WAVY TV. I see our trucks. So that's where we're going to be based.
Yeah. right there in the corner.
Oh, we lost
I'm
the
going to
shot.
switch over to camera 10 just for a second, and you can actually see now more boats toward the right of your screen. You can see them sort of pulling around to make that, I guess, final lap or final piece of the lap.
Victory lap, yeah.
Yes. I think the other one too that's really interesting. There's a catamaran called Impossible Dream that we haven't highlighted yet. It's very interesting. It's a universally accessible catamaran dedicated to engaging the global community for barrier-free design, for people with disabilities, wounded soldiers, disadvantaged youth, and their families. So I think that's a great one, and that has a really interesting, pretty sail. So when that one goes by, hopefully we'll get to see that.
Yeah, no, and I got to see it docks over at Waterside usually, and yeah, that is one of the prettiest sails I've ever seen.
They did. I thank you, Coast Guard. You gave us a pronouncer, Pompano.
Pompano.
Yes.
Pompano. Thank you so much, U.S. Coast Guard. Thank you so much for what you do, and thank you for helping us out, because, gosh, we need it.
Yes. And thank you for following along, and, I'm sure this is incredibly important in highlighting maritime history. I think the U.S. Coast Guard, too, what a busy kind of year and season they've been having.
Right, yeah, the Coast Guard, I mean,
just
knowing the rules of sailing and being on the water is so important. Like I said, I didn't know until I started to learn to sail from my good friend Mike.
Right.
I was telling you about that. Boats under sail, get right of way. Remember it.
Yeah, if you need boating safety tips, please, head over to the Coast Guard, especially as the summer and hopefully the good weather stay on our side. I'm going to switch over back to the Parade of Sail. I mean, you can still see some boats to the right of your screen, but let's take a look, back over. Oh, here we go. So now we're actually back on the actual path. The sails are down, you can see here, which, they don't want to put the sails up if it would be dangerous. And also, honestly, it might be a better view for passengers on board.
And you also want to make sure your sails are stowed by the time. Now, here's the NOAA ship. Well, that was the NOAA, right? You said was here?
Yes.
Yeah, right there. The Yule. Mm-hmm. Based out of Norfolk.
Excuse me, Yule is the USACE.
Oh,
the
Army Corps.
of Engineers.
Army Corps.
Yes. The NOAA Bay Hydro, we haven't pointed that one out yet,
Okay.
but we will say that one is more of a silver tint.
Aluminum look.
Yes. But the Yule is the Army Corps of Engineers that's out there. We're also going to see,
You can see the Pompano just spun around right above City Hall.
I'm going to try to take it back to our chopper. You can see again another leg. They're pulling around there. And
Hey,
here we
there's
have
Madison
Maddie.
Pierman. Strike me as I was looking at some of our notes here and looking at all the ships. It's amazing how many of these either replicas or older ships are still restored, and I think it's really cool. I think most of them are replicas, but it's awesome that people take the care and the time to still do it this way, because these boats are not cheap.
Right.
Do you know what boat stands for?
I'm going to take over to VR to see the
don't wanna answer that
helicopter, just to see what else is going on there and get ready for Madison Pierman to come back on the stream. But on your question, Brett, I mean, I think the amount of work that it takes, to restore some of these boats and keep them in mint condition is, pretty fantastic. So I think that, the volunteer crews that work on some of these restored boats and all the work that they do to preserve that maritime history, especially locally that we have here, is so incredibly important.
And there you have the Godspeed out of Jamestown again.
And
Spirit of Mount Vernon right there.
And you can see some people on the top. You can also enjoy, is it foosball, I think, that they had up there?
Yes, we had a very spirited game.
And they had a giant Jenga and lounge furniture. So if you're looking for something to do on beautiful days like this, that is one place to go in Norfolk.
U.S. Gettysburg, the U.S. Navy always ends the parade. It's kind of like tradition.
Yeah.
I guess I would say. I was going to make a comparison to the Macy's and Santa Claus, but then I thought, no, but now I did, so too late.
You're not seeing floats, but you're seeing boats on the water. But no, I think, to your point, I think that's so incredibly important to, honor the Navy and especially what this harbor means, with that ending to the parade.
Yeah, so do any of the sailors out there yet? I haven't seen them, but yeah, they usually do a nice spin around as they get to the Town Point Park.
And now that we're, turning around, you can see a little bit of a different angle. So take that in. Look how long that ship is too compared to some of the other vessels in the harbor. I do want to say after you all are done hearing from Brett and I, you can continue watching the Parade of Sail for the rest of the time, and we will leave you to take in the boats as they make their final way into the harbor. And now we're seeing a little bit of a different angle as, boats are so close. They're so close.
Yeah, we got a lot of them already made their first pass. And they do a great job if you ever go down there. If you haven't been down there this year, try to get down there next year. Try to do it at least once. They do a great job. You can see all the people down there of announcing each ship and giving you a little information about it. You got the Victory Rover right there that does the naval-based cruises out of right there, Alderberth at Town Point Park. That's those Victory Rover and Victory American Rover, both owned by the same individual. It looks like it's amazing how small the American Rover looks next to, I believe that was the American Rover, next to the Pride of Baltimore 2.
Right. Oh, here's Maddie. We're going to take it.
WAVY is so proud to be a sponsor of, and we just love to come out here and meet you guys and experience the maritime community that we've got going for us. You saw it there. And as I mentioned, some of these boats, you see them from the sky, right? But once you get next to them, you're like, whoa, Nelly, this thing is pretty big. And the history behind some of these boats as well. We have one of the boats that was actually recreation of an older version of a schooner. So it's super neat to see almost a pirate-like ship brought to life in front of you. So if you're headed out, we've got all these details and amazing resources on WAVY.com. If you weren't able to catch us coming out today to Town Point Park to be able to see the Parade of Sails, we got you covered too. You can go ahead and catch up with Sarah Goode. She is live right now from the WAVY digital desk. She's taking the live stream of us flying over the waterway right now. So if you wanted to just keep watching the Parade of Sails, head on over to WAVY.com, head to Facebook. We're there with, like I said, the WAVY digital desk host, Sarah Goode. She is awesome. She's got Brett Hall with her, breaking down the history of each of the boats as well. He's super knowledgeable, very familiar with the Spirit of Norfolk situation. So, yep, Spirit of Norfolk back out on the water, and it's just a great experience to be out here. It is a tried and true Hampton Roads tradition that the Parade of Sails is, and Harborfest as a whole. And it's not just boats. If that's not your thing, if food's your thing, I don't know if you watched us earlier, but Raven Bain was out here as well. And I'll tell you what, Raven was on a roll. She was trying the food trucks. She was catching up with everybody. She spoke with an organizer who said, hey, there is something for everybody here. So if you're heading on out, be sure to go ahead and check the WAVY.com guide. It'll give you the full rundown of everything you need to know. So just be sure to check that before you head out. It'll save you some time. For now, that's the latest here in Chopper 10, high above the Elizabeth River with pilot Scott Abbott. Madison Pierman, back to you.
So now we're going to take it back over to Cam 10 for a second as Maddie wraps up her work in the chopper there. But you just heard from her. She ended it by saying, there's a lot of good food out there, and she cited Raven Payne being out there. So, there's a lot of different things for everyone to check out at the festival.
Absolutely. And earlier, if you've been sticking with us through this whole stream, first, God bless you. Thank you so much. And two, the boat the Spirit of Norfolk, second boat there is the Freedom Elite. That's the small 80 capacity one that does the private charters. I've been looking for it and I haven't been able to find it. Who's that? I'm trying to catch who's that making the turn right there in the right side of the screen right now. I don't know if that's the Pride of Baltimore or if that's...
Well, look, I mean, you can see how sort of wonderful and how massive that ship compares to some of the other private vessels that are floating around it right now. Honestly, I mean, they do look slightly different without all of their sails up. So, once we get under chopper, we can see, a tighter angle of what is happening. And here you go, back to the stream.
And it looks like the USS Gettysburg, which is the only ship there that seems to kind of rival the enormity, I'll use that word, of the cruise ship. Is that one. It is about to approach Town Point Park, so that will be the official end of the parade, and then it will spin around and head out, and then again all the boats, it looks like some of them are out there in waiting for the Gettysburg to spin around so it can they can all go dock. So, and that in itself is just an impressive operation to watch them spin that thing around. The men and women that work on this waterway each and every day, they have our utmost respect.
Absolutely.
We know it is a dangerous job, especially those tugboat captains, those river pilots. Thank you so much for what you do, because if the weather's bad and the surf is rough, guess who's still out there?
Right.
Them.
Right.
So we really, really appreciate the sailors from all walks of life, military or maritime.
Well, here we are, and we're going to sign off now and let you just enjoy all the ships and vessels that are coming through toward waterside. So keep watching the stream, and please look at the links in the chat if you want to find out more about the vessels, how you can get a ride on any of these ships, and find out more about what's happening at Harborfest. We have all that on WAVY.com.
And we hope to see you out there, too.
Thank you. I almost clicked this.